What's happening, all you dudes and dudettes? This is Dudes Talking Freedom back at you once again. This is Luke.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we want to thank you for joining us on the Dudes Talking Freedom podcast. We're brought to you by Warriors for Freedom, a nonprofit that creates pathways to engage service members to help veterans and their families prevent suicide, foster camaraderie, and help them live their best lives. Check them out at warriorsforfreedom.org. All right, folks, we have Gentry Gevers joining us remotely, who is an influencer, content creator, founder of Revival Ready and Gevers Media Group. We'll be talking freedom, faith, family, finances, and whatever else we want to talk about. So let's get into it, fellas, shall we?
Let's get into it. That's our second intro because we weren't recording on the first go-around. So,
what is this new software we're using?
This is called StreamYard. It's actually pretty smooth. Overall.
Is that like Stomp the Yard, but we're streaming the yard, or what?
I mean, I guess so. Yeah, that's a good Stomp the Yard. That was a movie, right?
I think it's a
like a drummer
Las Vegas
kind
musical
of thing. Was it?
Yeah, I think it's like Blue Man Group without the paint. You know, like Blue Man Group was like, let's do Stomp the Yard, but let's add
paint.
And let's paint our
faces
whole bodies
blue. Yeah,
let's rub it all over ourselves.
Yeah,
crazy.
It's
weird.
oily paint too that they
really
use. If you've ever been to see it, it's
they
weird.
Oh, guys, it's been great being on this podcast. I'm gonna bow out after that. I'm kidding.
Well, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it. Since we've been chit-chatting on social media, gotten to know each other a little bit. You're up in where? Seattle?
Yep, up in the Seattle area, just outside.
All right, cool.
Kind of the home base of the woke movement.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, I don't know. I would say San Fran is kind of like where that all got started.
I don't know. It was really
Silicon
bad.
Valley,
Portland, Seattle.
Yeah, I just feel like Silicon Valley is like where the woke movement originally started, and then like when the political woke movement, I'm talking like corporate America woke, started in I think Silicon Valley, and then I think it just like it permeated into like the world. Seattle definitely, it definitely lit some fires up there, figuratively and, literally.
I mean, I think maybe it was a pissing contest, Seattle was like, I can be just as woke as you, San Francisco, and each one just got a little bit more woke.
I can ruin my city faster than you can ruin your city.
Burn it down.
Yeah. And then Chicago got involved and we're like, nope, bop, bop, bop. They brought out the guns, the illegal guns.
Bring a gun to a paintbrush fight.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, of course. I was gonna say it's not really a battle that like I'd want to win for Seattle, right? I'd want them to go the opposite way. But we did have like the Chaz, the CHOP, that autonomous zone. I don't know if you guys remember that from 2020 where Antifa just took over part of the city. Like I went there and it was nuts. It was wild. One of the craziest stories out of there is they brought in doulas so that people could go have babies there, so they weren't U.S. citizens.
Wow,
what?
Really?
Yeah.
So they weren't U.S. citizens?
Right, because it was like it wasn't part of the U.S. at that point.
Oh, okay.
It was its own like city within Seattle, right? Like it was an autonomous zone, a sovereign like city, town, nation, whatever. And so they probably had babies and didn't have birth certificates, I'm guessing, for them. And
I don't know what
it was too free. America's too free for them, or what? It's too free, just not free enough.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to understand that logic,
Yeah.
I can't understand it. It makes my
I don't
head
blame
hurt.
you. Yeah, I don't blame you. So you guys had the autonomous zones. We started our podcast a couple years back now through some driveway drinking with the guys on the street, and the impetus for this whole thing started when Biden bungled Afghanistan, and we kind of all got together and we were hanging out, having a few beers by a little mini bonfire that we made with some scrap wood from some of the local, construction zone houses in the neighborhood that were throwing some scrap.
You stole stuff from new home builds?
The stuff that was in the trash, you know what I mean? Like not, I wasn't like taking it out of a house.
You're doing them a favor.
Yeah, I was doing them a favor. I was getting rid of some trash. It was just sitting there. So they were going to throw it out anyway. It was scrap. So, we ended up hanging out and talking about politics, talking about the mess that was going on in the world. I'm sure we were talking about Seattle at one point.
Oh yeah.
And we just kind of were like, we should record these conversations and just put them out as a podcast and see if people will listen to this shit. And lo and behold,
they'll listen to anything.
Yeah, they will. And a lot of our local friends started listening and talking to their friends. And, we had some people from like Minnesota and the Northeast and, we're different part of Oklahoma.
We're worldwide.
We're worldwide at this point.
In fact, you have a t-shirt that says Dudes Talking Freedom Worldwide.
Dudes Talking Freedom Worldwide, established 2021. And so that's kind of how we got started. And, we've had some iterations. We were originally 4 of us and a couple of guys had to bow out because of personal reasons. And so Luke and I decided to stick with it, make a run at this thing. And, much like you've got your media group, which I'd love to talk about that and, kind of how that all got started. We saw a gap in, there's a lot of new media out there, podcasts and video casts that have kind of tried to take over the news, right? Because mainstream media is just like untrustworthy, right? It's never really been trustworthy, but Donald Trump definitely brought that to light with his fake news commentary starting in 2015 as he was running for office the first time. And, we started to look at it like, there's a huge gap in so many areas of getting information out to people. And so
it's a gape.
It is a gape.
It's a gape.
It's huge. And so there's this massive chasm, and so we're like, let's drive some of this information. And then, there's been iterations, right? Like all these other media companies or all these other, podcasts or what have you, they all talk about a lot of the same stuff. It's all about like the truther movement and this and that and the other. But like we've kind of molded things over time and tried to become more like a little bit less of like the kind of the news and a little bit more focused on what are some of the big topics that the world actually should be caring about. Like we did a show a couple of weeks ago on electromagnetic pulses and like grid down scenarios. We did a episode on the Statue of Liberty and where that all came from and some of its Freemasonry roots. We got another one coming out pretty soon about the George Washington Monument. And so just some little topics that like, you don't learn a lot of this stuff in your U.S. history classes or your world history classes in school. And as you get older, you kind of get sucked into the matrix and you're either going into corporate America and you're working, or you're going into business for yourself and you're working, and you just don't have time to consume the information. And you come home from work, you sit on the couch, people grab a beer or a glass of wine, and then they watch Fox News or they watch CNN for an hour.
And then we have our suite of local candidates because school boards and town council, big change starts locally.
Yeah.
And we all just kind of have to focus on our community. And that was kind of the impetus of the podcast, right? Is driveway drinking, get to know your neighbor, hanging out, being a part of a community. And school board and town council are an important part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we've been putting a big focus on that for the last year and change as well. And, talking to local education activists, education lawyers, and, school board candidates from a lot of the surrounding cities here in North Texas, getting them to talk about, what are the issues that they're facing in their schools? What are the challenges that the kids in those different districts are facing? And so that's gotten a lot of traction for us as well. But that's a huge fight. It's a big battle. And a lot of people are, banging their heads against the wall trying to go down that road. You know what I mean? And so we're like, hey, let's give everybody a voice and let's let people talk about those issues openly. And, hear about what's going on in their district, so they know what are their kids. Their kids are going to school in this district. What are the potential gotchas that they maybe not be aware of? When they decided to move here. You know what I mean? Because there's a bunch of them. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you got started, and you got a couple businesses. You're obviously kind of like a social media. I would call you an influencer. You got quite a few followers. So
I just did.
how did that? Yeah, how did that all get started for you?
Well, it's kind of a funny story. I'll tell the whole thing. So it started back in 2018. I got the opportunity to fly down to California to do a screen test for The Bachelor. And so I was building up a little social media following at the time, and like the goal was always to try to be famous. Which now when I say it now, it sounds super vapid and like uninteresting, right? Because you're just being famous on social media just to be famous and get brand deals and stuff like that. And thankfully didn't make it on that show because I think that would have ruined me. But I still kept pushing, still kept trying, and then 2020, right before the election, I was testing out kind of different ideas, and so I was trying to do like dating content or fitness content, and then I was going to test political content because I'd seen some videos out there. And so I think it was August of 2020, I put out a video about me being a Trump supporter in Washington. And that video blew up. It was my biggest video, like the most traction, got tons of likes, comments, follows. And I'd always known that that I was a conservative, right? I grew up in a great Christian family, and so I always had those values in me, but I didn't really know why I believed what I believed, right? And so at that point, I'd gone from like 20,000 on TikTok to I think 50,000 almost overnight. I was like, okay, well, I actually got to get good at what some of these talking points are, and what are the conservative values beyond what I knew. So I dove in, and then I was hammering that really really hard. I think I got it up to like 100,000, and then the election happened, and the next day I got 0 views on any videos that I put out. I was getting like 40, 50, 60,000 views, like on the smaller videos, right? And then a couple million on some of the bigger ones. And like censorship hit me hard. And the
Yeah.
idea, I think, was just to knock me out of the race because they saw I was getting some traction. But really, that lit a fire under my butt to keep going. So I built up another account. That one got deleted. And then I built up an Instagram account. That one got deleted. And so now I'm on this last account that I've created on Instagram, and we built it up to 40,000, which I'm pretty proud about. And you guys know this, right? With building the podcast, it's hard to grow on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
It's unbelievably hard.
Shadow
So
banning is real.
shadow banning is real. So it's kind of a funny story of like trying to get famous to actually like getting into like a content niche that actually adds a lot of value, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the story of how I got here.
Yeah. I mean, I think your content's great. I mean, you hit a lot of the issues head on. I saw your most recent story on Instagram. I think it was today, actually, where you talked about, kind of the big 3 things that we should all be focusing on, which is faith, family, and finances. Those are kind of the big
Hmm.
3 topics that, people, if and it really resonates with me because I'm a man of faith, but I wasn't 2 years ago. So you talk about like when you were kind of doing your whole, no, this was 5 years ago, and you're doing this whole like kind of bachelor thing where like it was you're saying it was, you're glad that it didn't happen. Maybe God, it wasn't God's plan for you. Um,
Uh-huh.
I grew up in a, I was a full blown atheist. So up until about 2 years ago, and just prior to my kind of conversion, my being born again, if you will, I if you had asked me, I would have said, and I've said this before, when I've talked about this with people, but if you had asked me, do you believe in God? I would have said, I don't believe in God, don't believe in the devil, but I believe in man's obsession with both God and the devil. And, man has been obsessed with these two entities since the beginning of time. And, about 2 years ago, I started really digging down the rabbit hole on a lot of things. And, the main one that kind of drove me was like child abuse, satanic ritual abuse, human trafficking was one of the big areas. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's a couple of, Mel Gibson's got this 4-part documentary coming out in
It's
July.
a $32 billion industry, I think.
I thought it was 34, but yeah, it's
35.
It's a lot. And the Jim Caviezel movie Sound of Freedom about Operation Underground Railroad's coming out, Tim Ballard. I started going down that rabbit hole and realizing this stuff is real. People are ignoring it. The pedophilia is rampant. It's all over the place. We're seeing it everywhere. If this kind of evil exists in the world, that means Satan is real. Whether people want to believe it or not, it means that he's real, and he's convinced people that he's not real because I was convinced that he wasn't real, right? And then it all kind of fell into place for me, and I was like, well, if Satan's real, that means that God is real. And I quite literally almost broke into tears. I was like, I can't believe I didn't realize this before. I'm glad I'm realizing it now, but I can't believe I didn't realize this before. And I started seeking out information on the topic, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read the Bible, and I'm gonna go down this road. And so that was a couple years ago. And so since then, I'm a full Christian convert. Got baptized about a month ago on Mother's Day, actually, and that was a big moment for me. My life's completely changed for the better. I feel like I am a better human being because of it. But faith, your focus on faith, it definitely strikes a chord with me in a big, big way. And then the second part of being family is my focus on my family has become that much more strong since I've become a man of faith. So we always kind of had the finances thing focused on, but it's at a new level now, when those other things fall into place, at least for me, it's become a more like a kind of a stronger pull. But why do you say those three things are the main three key components for people that they need to be focusing on these days?
Well, first of all, I love your story, man. It sounds a lot like mine. I came back to my faith because I'd probably watched a lot of the same videos that you were, kind of exposing the child trafficking and satanic stuff. And I actually came to the same conclusion. I was like, there's so much more evil in the world than I had anticipated. And so that's I actually got involved in a church, and just like dove in headfirst to serving. And it's the church and my relationship with God has really like transformed my life, because now I'm it sounds cliche, but it's 100% true, where I'm just walking in so much more freedom than I was before because of all the bad decisions I was making, right? Like, you don't have to carry around this weight that all of us men carry around, right? The weight of like shame and guilt, and the feelings of not being enough, the feelings of inadequacy, right? I just gave those all to God, and I feel like that's one of the best ways to just have a really amazing life. We're not supposed to carry that stuff around. And one of the lies I think that has permeated this culture right now is we're actually identifying with the stuff that we're carrying around. We're identifying with the trauma. We're identifying with the shame. We're identifying with whatever sexual orientation we want to feel like that day, right? With the pronouns and the trans movement. And then we're making, or not, what, not we, but people are making irreversible medical decisions based on that. And I just feel bad because like they don't fully understand the freedom that there is in that. And once you get free from all the bad decisions that you made in your life, then you have the ability to really dive in and focus on family. I'm not married yet, but I absolutely want a family and to raise a ton of amazing kids. And it says in the Bible that children are a blessing, and I want to be blessed. So I'm gonna have a ton of kids. And then obviously finances. It's one of those things that I think Christians kind of shy away from because they're like, oh, money's the root of all evil, but they miss a huge part of that verse. It's the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil.
Yeah.
Right. Money is just a tool. And we're seeing guys like George Soros and Clintons and the Gates and a lot of these like really evil guys use money in a way to further their own agenda. Right. Soros is buying up judges all over the place. He's influencing campaigns. He's getting people into school boards to influence these kids to like, become trans, right? There's a full frontal attack right now on the trans movement. I posted a video on my Instagram of they had like a trans day at the White House, and there was topless people at the White House.
Yeah, I saw that.
One of them was or something.
Yeah,
Montoya.
One of them was a dude and one of them was a girl, but they were like switched, right? Because they had the transition, and it was just nuts. But I think there's an opportunity. Or yeah, nutless, right? I think there's I think there's an opportunity. Nudicles, yeah. I don't know the terms, man. Are you?
Well, yeah, I know you can get nudicles for your dog, and they're just fake testicles that you can get for your dog. So I assume that's what they call them for people too. I mean, maybe there's another term for them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
oh shit.
Side note. Go ahead.
Luke knows a lot of weird stuff, man. He's got a lot of weird things up in his brain.
Oh, Amber Alert.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. Amber Alert on my phone. My bad.
I lost my train of thought, but
sorry. Yeah.
We were talking about
yeah, George, you're talking about George Soros
the White House.
Everybody going up to the White House.
You're talking about the post in the White House.
Yeah. Yep. So those guys are furthering their agenda by paying people off to do all this stuff. And so I think there's an opportunity in the next 10 years as we're kind of seeing this reset, whatever that looks like, if it's the Great Reset or if it's more of like a blockchain reset, right? There's a whole bunch of wealth building opportunities to get money in the hands of Christians, right? There's one of my favorite verses in Proverbs says, the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. And so I think there's a huge opportunity for a transfer of wealth to happen in the next 10 years so that we can get some of these resources to deploy money in the right ways so that we can further our agenda. Because if our agenda isn't getting further, then it's the other side. And we see what the other side is producing. So
yeah, that's where the new wars are being fought, right? Like it's a financial warfare. Mm-hmm. So we have to build up our treasure chests in order to produce our media content or get the word out there, right? So
yeah,
you have to tell the people.
Yeah, I think.
And now with the advent of AI and ChatGPT, I just heard recently that they want to rewrite the Bible using artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
did you see
Noah
that?
Harari.
Instead of the King James edition, they're gonna have the AI edition or the ChatGPT edition. Like seriously?
Yeah,
it's a fact.
I saw it. Noah Harari said that, right?
Yeah.
Good old Klaus Schwab's buddy, his chief advisor to the World Economic Forum.
Yeah,
he said exactly that, and I was like, so first of all, that's blasphemous.
Yeah.
But the fact that the audacity and the level of pride that is involved in somebody's mind that they can even suggest rewriting the Bible using artificial intelligence, which some would say is the devil's work. It's like you're quite literally taking the work of the devil in AI, and you're creating a new version of God's word. It's like spiritual warfare.
And they even say that it's a
102.
brand new religion, right?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
they're talking about completely rewriting it.
Well, that's their goal, right? Isn't their goal to have a one world religion? I mean, this would be the step towards that, right? One world government, one world religion, one world police force, or one world military, whatever you want to call the UN. But that's where they're headed, and it's concerning. It's definitely concerning. But yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity, like you said, for transfer wealth. If Christians and look, even if you're not Christian, if you're whatever religion whatever faith you are of, or whatever religion you follow, if you are against Satan in this world, then you have an opportunity to be on the good side of things. Now Christians believe what they believe, and we have our own opinions of what the world is, what God's word is, and what it means. But I also think that others, people out there, have their own perspectives because of their religion, right, and their faith.
Yeah, a lot of people's morals and beliefs align with Christianity for sure.
Right.
And a lot of people just don't want their sons to cut their penises off.
Right.
Yeah. And that's good enough, and that's what people are what they're forcing on children. So that'd be enough right there.
Yeah. I mean, the desensitization effort that's been ongoing in Hollywood and the media, and for the longest time, is a real thing, and not enough people pay attention to it. And look, I mean, I didn't pay attention to it until a few years ago. I wasn't looking on the Netflix shows my kids were watching, or the Nickelodeon shows, or whatever Disney programming they were like fans of, to see the little like pedophile symbols and the swirls and the triangles and all the different symbols. Like, I had no idea.
My mom didn't want me to go to school on Halloween, and I've been a Christian my entire life. My dad is an ordained minister. My sister's an ordained minister. My brother, Blake, went to theological seminary school, Gordon Cromwell in Boston. He runs a church called Restoration Church. And during the week, it's called Restoration Cafe. It's the number 2 best, hopefully to be number 1, number 2 best coffee shop in all the Tampa Bay greater region in Florida. But I mean, like, I don't know. I never strayed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys were doing.
Well,
What's wrong with you?
I had a mixed religion upbringing, and so we didn't really have
blame it on your parents.
Direct. I'm not blaming my parents.
I'm
It was
kidding.
actually they left it up to my brother and I to, like, my mom wanted us to go to Catholic school, like not Catholic school, but like CCD, we called it. I don't even know what that stands for. It was like basically learning about God though in school, outside of actual elementary school. And we were like, no, we're not going. We're not interested. Like, no, thanks. We just want to play with our G.I. Joe figures and, whatever else. And so my mom and my dad were like, look, as you get older, we'll talk more about it, and we'll you can make some decisions as you get older. And then, like, we just went our own way. And, my brother, I believe, as far as I know, is still atheist. And, we don't talk much about religion. We don't talk much about like my newfound faith. I mean, I talk about it with my parents. My mom and my dad are both very happy that I have found faith. But my dad's Jewish, my mom's Catholic, and so it wasn't a division. It was just they had different beliefs and different upbringing. So I didn't really fall into either category growing up, and I was listening to a lot of heavy metal and hardcore like gangster rap and all the stuff, and it just, I fell into the Hollywood entertainment like world at a young age. It was impressionable, and went to college, drinking, partying, not following God in any way, you know what I mean? And I'm quite honestly, I'm glad that I went on the path that I went on, because I probably wouldn't have felt as strongly towards my conversion from atheism to Christianity if I hadn't followed that path, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a yin and yang to it, right? Like you got to look at both sides. You got to appreciate being poor. In order to appreciate being rich, you got to be poor.
Right.
You know, that's
right.
exactly what you were.
100%.
So yeah, how has that driven your life, Gentry, your faith?
Well, kind of like what Jeremy was saying. I just realized that a lot of the decisions that I was making, in college and in the frat life and drinking and partying and girls and all that kind of stuff. I got really convicted because I saw what it was producing in my life. Right, it was really really fun. On the night, but then the hangover, the the shame, the Sunday scaries as they're called now. It just wasn't like it wasn't producing really what I wanted out of life. And so kind of like what Jeremy was saying, that like that conviction like really kind of kicked me in the gear. I stopped drinking, so it'll be 2 years in August. And I've decided to clean up a lot of my language, a lot of the friends that I'm hanging out with, just to try to get on that straight and narrow. Um, and it's it's lonely at times, but I've got some good guys around me, and um, I'm definitely happier. there's there's definitely this joy that's um, not it doesn't come from anything that I do or say. It's just there, right?
Yeah,
So
where do you find your community that you're deriving that joy from? You go to
um,
church? You guys have fellowship? Do you play sports? What's
yeah. So I've got some amazing friends that there's probably like 4 or 5 churches that we all go to. But we'll hang out, we'll smoke cigars, play poker, Bible study, just grab coffee, talk about stuff that's going on in life. And I feel like that's not, especially for men. I think that talking about like fears and challenges, like it's not really a thing, especially up here, right? With the Seattle freeze that's going on. We don't really get vulnerable, I guess. I'm not saying that like dudes have to cry all the time, because I don't think that swinging the opposite way is a good idea. But just getting that stuff off your chest. I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I think that's probably what the Dudes Talking Freedom podcast has provided for me. In addition to just the podcast in general, is just kind of the fellowship, right?
Yeah.
It's great, and it's great having all my bros and the fellow dudes out there who I talk to come and talk to me about what they heard on the podcast, or what it is that we're talking about. So
mhm.
I don't know, it's fun, and all that that freeze, or I don't know if I'm using that term correctly. I'm from Oklahoma, in Texas, but it maybe you just need to rebrand those feelings, right? It feels like girls are massively involved from a very young age, programmed to love family and be all about family with their dolls and all that shit. And then men and boys, they're all about being competitive,
Mm.
and it's all about, how far can I piss, or how far can I throw this ball, or whatever it is, right? So
How hard can I punch you in the arm?
yeah, whatever it is, like,
Right.
hey, how many windows can
Charlie
I break with this
horses.
rod?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Yeah. How many ants can I burn with this magnifying glass?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that feeling of inadequacy that we were talking about earlier, maybe that's been branded in our own psyche to rip apart our self-esteem, essentially, right? And what it really is our competitive spirit. And it's okay that you lose, even though it sucks to lose, and I never want to lose ever. But, I mean, you can totally learn things from losing. It's the best thing ever when you lose because you learn something or you make a mistake. Wow. You have to make mistakes in order to grow.
Yeah.
You're never going to win.
You just said it. It's like you can't appreciate being rich unless you're poor at some point. You can't appreciate winning unless you've lost. Right? That's like one of the things I always taught my son when he was younger, when I would beat him at chess all the time. Like, I'm a big chess player, and I would play my son when he was like 6. I taught him how to play, and like now he beats me because he's a freaking chess wizard.
He's a big chess player. He gets beat by his 7-year-old.
Like, I don't play as much anymore, but like he plays all the time now. He's like on the chess app. He's playing the computer. I mean, he's gaming on that thing, and he plays me. He's like, hey, you got some time to play chess today? I'm like, yeah, I'll play a game. And like, sometimes he beats me, sometimes I beat him, but he's 13 and he's good, but I taught him what it was like to lose all the time. Like, I never let him beat me. And like, he beat me once because I wasn't paying attention when he was like 8. And I was like, that's never happening again. Like, I'm going to beat him until he can really beat me. And now he really beats me. Now I beat up on my 7-year-old. Like, I'm like, yeah, we're going to play chess. I'm going to smoke you.
Find some better competition.
Yeah. Yeah. It just makes me feel better. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still good. I still got it.
Hey, that's why I play Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So anyway, you started a couple of businesses out of this. So you went from social media, you became kind of a little bit of an influencer because you got this big following off of some of these viral videos you did, which is awesome. And then you now have, you have your media company, and, what's your goal with the media company and your other kind of business ventures? What are you trying to do with those?
The goal with the media company is to help local patriot owned companies explode their marketing. There's so much that I've learned with marketing just through the social media journey beyond content, right? So paid ads and funnels and all this kind of stuff. I mean, the details of it, I mean, it's just like any other agency, but the heart behind it is kind of like what we were talking about earlier with there's a huge potential of transfer of wealth, and there's a ton of attention going towards this parallel economy that's emerging, and so I want to help business owners take advantage of that transfer of wealth. I really want to be able to support people who love America, right? I don't want to help somebody who is going to go donate to Planned Parenthood or put, a trans flag on their business. I don't want to help that guy, right? Because he's already sold his soul to the woke religion that he's a part of. But then kind of the reason I started it, for my W-2, I sell HVAC, right? So furnaces and heat pumps and ACs. And my manager up here in Seattle, he's like, he told me that he doesn't give a shit what I believe. He wants me to wear a mask in people's houses when I go do consultations.
To this day?
I was like, to this day.
What?
It's 2020. It's 2023. He literally said, he's like, hey man, why don't you wear a mask in that consultation? And I was like, I don't believe in it. Like, I think masks are dumb. They don't work. The CDC said this, Biden said this. And he said, Gentry, I don't give a shit what you believe. Wear the mask or find another job. And so what I did was I took a kind of a survey of all my skills, and I was like, I could start a marketing company, and then I'm going to help patriot owned companies like explode their marketing. And so that was kind of the fire that got lit under my butt, is because I was like, this guy's dumb. It's 2023. Like, COVID's over. Like, maybe the next pandemic, like there'll be a mask mandate or something like that. But right now we're
there totally will
fine.
be.
Oh, there will be for sure.
I used my mask to clean the blood off my arm the other day. Found it in the glove box. I was like, give me that. Clean this blood off me.
Yeah.
Threw it in the trash.
Yeah, they don't work.
Never did.
We've proven that.
Yeah.
CDC said they don't work. We actually got a couple of our YouTube videos pulled down because we actually said on one of them that masks don't work, and used the words "convid" a couple of times, and so yeah, they don't like that, and their algorithm pulled it right up, and we got suspended for a couple of weeks, and
Holy cow.
lo and behold, like a few months later, the CDC comes out and says, "Oh, hey, guess what? These masks, they don't really work." And we're like, we were saying this 3 months ago, like, and we got ripped off of YouTube, and like, we're still like, we still got the video. They won't put it back up. It's kind of bullshit, actually. But
Well, they won't
Life
put it
isn't
back up at all.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess it was an older video. It was an older recording. So at this point, a lot of people aren't going back and listening to like episode 20, whatever.
Yeah.
Did you know that Chick-fil-A this is how bad it's gotten. Chick-fil-A has pulled their funding from FCA, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and they've hired like a diversity, equity, inclusion officer.
Have they really?
At their firm, and they're donating to LGBTQ friendly
Chick-fil-A
foundations. Yeah.
Who's next? Hobby
Chick-fil-A.
Lobby? Is Hobby Lobby going to be next with that?
I don't know. I'm going to have to stop crafting.
I mean, yeah, you're going to have to.
Dang it.
You can't.
So the DEI officer at Chick-fil-A, he's been around for about 2 years. So this has kind of gone under our noses for a long time. There's been a little bit of a backlash because that news broke, and it sounded like breaking news, but the reality is that a lot of the owner operators of the franchises have been pushing back, and since the media came out, they've been pushing back a lot more, which is good because I mean that's how it should be. I really don't want to boycott Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, so do I. My kids love it too. I mean, it's not great food for you. It's not super healthy and clean, but it's better than a lot of the other stuff that's out there. Just in terms of its, but it's tough, man. I mean, look, like, I think anybody who's on a W-2, I mean, I'm on a W-2, like people who are on W-2s, they kind of work for that, like woke corporate America, you know what I mean? And it's tough because like you're just like that low to mid-level person, that's just working for a paycheck, trying to earn some money so you can support your family. And I think a lot of people are in that boat, like especially a lot of Christians and other folks who may may not agree with a lot of the things that their company is pushing in terms of their agenda. The agenda is coming from a much higher power, if you will, because it's coming from some of the main investment firms and that are kind of like driving the Wall Street agenda around DEI and ESG and those types of things. They're all part of that, and it's the companies agree or disagree with it, they're still beholden to their investors, and when a large percentage of your investors come from 3 to 5 of the top banking or investment firms in the world, you kind of don't have much of a choice but to fall in line, if you will, when like Larry Fink of BlackRock's like, hey, we're it's ESG or I'm pulling all our money out.
Yeah, he straight up says it.
Yeah.
He said it multiple times in different forums around the world that, you have to take drastic measures in order to make people do things.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's tough, and so what kind of advice do you give? I mean, you obviously you did it. I mean, did you just up and quit your job? Like, and like, would you like throw your mask down on your boss's lap and be like, I'm out. Fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you, I'm out.
No. I'm still working a W-2. I'm looking at a different job. So I'm doing this media company on the side until it can support because I don't necessarily want to just up and quit and
Yeah, it's
on
tough.
a whim. It is really tough. One of the one of the things that I've been researching is where BlackRock and Vanguard get this money, right? Because they're really big money managers, and they're getting it from retirement accounts. They're getting it from pensions and 401ks and IRAs and all this kind of stuff. And so essentially, they're using our money to kind of blackmail these big companies like Bud Light and Target and all these guys to go woke. And so there's actually been a movement to like call up your financial advisor, call up whoever it is, and just be like, hey, I actually don't want to um, put money into these companies, or I want to exercise the voting rights that I have with the shares that I own. Um, there's been a little bit of a movement, and I think it's just going to grow in the next couple of years too, where we're actually going to take control of what we have, because they're using our money to screw us. Essentially, it's
Yeah,
wild.
they
It's kind of like
totally
the
are.
government.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to say it's kind of like the government taxing us, and then not fixing the border, not working on infrastructure, not giving us what we need, and then sending all the money to Ukraine.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the biggest advantage that Vanguard. Now, I was a broker for 20 years, right? And the biggest advantage, I did 5 years of retail, 15 years of institutional broker dealer. I was an equity trader, options trader, futures trader, whatever, currency trader. But the biggest advantage Vanguard has is their expense ratio is the lowest in the industry. So it's cheaper to send your money to Vanguard in their S&P 500 fund and get the type of diversification that is required in order to maintain, competitive returns. And that's how they win.
Yeah.
That's how they win.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's been a big part of how they've won.
I actually, I have a small group of friends that I talk to about investing, and Luke and I talk a little bit here and there. I'm of the opinion that I don't even want to put any money into my 401k at all anymore. So I actually stopped putting the money into my 401k. Like, I don't care if the company is going to give me 3% on my 6% investment. Like, they're going to give me half to, because it's a trap, right? The 401k is a trap. They're going to give you the money, but you can't get the money until you get to retirement age. So I'd rather have the money, and I'd rather just invest in whatever I want to invest it in. So like, if I want to open a Roth IRA, at least then I know, like, it's like I can put the money, after tax money in. I don't have the penalties for removing it, like a little bit early if I need it. But a traditional IRA,
You still have the penalties in a Roth IRA.
But if you're putting, it's post-tax, so you only pay the capital gains. You don't pay the tax.
You pay the penalty for early removement regardless, but you do. Yeah.
But you can still remove it without paying the tax because you've already paid the tax. But a traditional IRA, like, so what I did was I just took all the money I had in my 401k and I just moved everything into a traditional IRA. And I just decided to take it into a self-directed, and I just do everything myself. I don't even have like a financial advisor anymore that does it for me, because they're always telling me like, well, you don't want to invest in gold because gold is, it's like, it's a gamble, it's speculative. I'm like, well, isn't the stock market speculative? Like, isn't this fund speculative? Isn't this
waking up in the morning
speculative? I'm like, yeah, like, yeah, you could all you do all day is speculate on what this stock is going to do. How can you sit there and tell me gold is speculative? If you look at the history of gold investing, It's all, we always go back to gold and silver after every 100 years, or a debasement of the currency, and the country, completely folds on their existing currency. Like, if you look through human history, it's always, it's constantly happening. Every time an empire falls, and I would argue that the United States is the next empire to fall. We're already in the middle of it. A lot of people just don't know it yet, but how can you sit there and say to me? And so that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And then I also I like Bitcoin. I'm a fan of it. I've done a ton of research on the topic. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I know a hell of a lot more than a lot of people on it. And I'm a fan. And so when he said to me, you should only invest money in Bitcoin that you would be willing to go to a casino and lose at the blackjack table, I was like, you have no idea what you're talking about. See ya. Like, I'm closing my account. I'm like, forget it. We're done. And so then I was talking to Luke, and he's like, you're smart enough guy. You could do this on your own. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I could. I just got to do the research, and I got to figure it out and figure out where I want to put my money. And anyone can do it. They just have to be willing to invest the time to learn a little bit, right? And I think the 401k is a trap, man. It's just a trap.
I spent 5 years trying to educate people on how to invest and what they should do with their money. And at the end of the day, all they just wanted was to be sold.
Yeah.
So he just sold them what they wanted to be sold,
Yeah.
and that was it. And they didn't want to do what was right for them, which was, prudent financial diversification of your assets, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Was basically what I was preaching. And then I just gave up. I was just like, you know what? I want to go to the institutional side, and I'll just talk to these Ivy League guys who are all portfolio managers, running hedge funds and stuff. And I'll just get deep into linear regression and crazy mathematic formulas and run cash flow analysis for them, buy and sell securities. So
was there 34 screens?
I had 13 and 13 screens.
You had 13 screens?
At 13 screens, I had three CPUs and 5 phones. But I had an office chair, and I just roll back and forth. What was that? What was that skiing apparatus that you could do to work out, where you just
the ski erg,
like that mat that you would just push back and forth on?
Oh,
it was kind of like that. It was just this mat. It was this mat. It was slick, and you just slide back and forth like you were cross country skiing.
Oh yeah,
in the comfort of your own home. And I would do that basically in my office chair, just slide back and forth, and bang some stuff out over here and over there and over here. So
it's wild.
That's pretty much what it was. Just a good adductor workout. It's great.
Yeah. Man.
It's
yeah.
fun.
I can't see and by the way, it's like, I see what happens. Like, if you go back and you look through just the history of things since like the start of the Federal Reserve, start of the IRS, taxation gets more and more and more and more, and then inflation gets higher and higher and higher, which is just a hidden taxation on the people. And all these people that are investing in their 401ks, it's like you keep dumping money out of your paycheck into, so number one, you're paying taxes to the federal government, but then you're also putting a bunch of money into this 401k that you can't touch until you're 59 and a half years old. Well, what happens if the market takes a complete shit like it did in 2008, right? And you're just about to retire. You are SOL. Your entire life savings is gone overnight. And you literally have no recourse. Can't get it back. You can, if you're lucky, maybe, depending on what you've invested in, maybe, because it's all speculative, but maybe you can earn some of that back when things pick up again if you wait long enough. But if you're about to retire, who knows how much longer you have, right? Like, the average age of people these days is what, 70? Is it 73? 74? Isn't like for just the average like human life, like American's lifespan.
Oh, the
like,
lifespan, average lifespan. Yeah.
It's like in the 70s, right?
Yeah, mid-70s.
So like you would have to wait. Like, do you have 10 more years to wait? Do you have 15 more years to wait? What if you want to retire and like go on a couple of vacations or like some trips to like Italy or Australia or,
Why would you want to go to Australia?
I mean, I wouldn't, but like, I'm just saying, like, if you want to
So
go
you put in a
somewhere to
lockdown
see,
camp?
yeah, exactly. It's just into art would be
Crocky!
on top of me in a second for not wearing a mask. But that's my whole thing. It's like, I would rather have my money and invest it in what I think I want to invest it in and put it into things that I think are going to hold their value for a longer term and grow in value versus the speculation of the stock market and the funds and the, all these indexes and all this stuff. And it's like, all of this stuff, it's just a trap to suck your money in. And then they crash the economy and you're fucked. Basically.
Well, you can still get
French.
We can still get the benefits of tax deferred growth through your self-directed IRA or your checkbook IRA, whatever you want to call it. You have to follow the ERISA rules still, but
Right.
you can invest in real estate, gold, silver, businesses.
Yeah.
There are some things like you can't own more than 50% of like a franchise,
Right.
a certain percentage of a franchise. You can't go stay in your Airbnb that you invest in through your IRA. If it isn't a work trip, there's some rules around it, but yeah, you can invest in a whole lot of different things through that and still continue to grow your assets tax deferred. And that's just as good as leverage. So you're leveraging up your own account rather than, paying taxes on that earned income. You defer that income, but yeah, you can definitely do it. What ways are you telling people how they can accumulate wealth? How are you advising people, Gentry, to accumulate more and more wealth?
We're none of us are financial advisors.
No, not financial advisors at all.
Don't take
I've
this as
been,
financial advice.
I'm pretty close with some guys up here that have built an ecosystem of blockchains, and so I'm like deep into the blockchain DAO rabbit hole. But I've been dollar cost averaging into a ton of tokens in preparation for the halvening next year. So every few years, right, Bitcoin halves. And then it's basically a clear line to the next bull run. And I've taken advantage of the last couple bull runs, but I haven't ever had enough money to really take advantage of it. And so this next time around, I think I'll be in a really good position to make some really significant money in this next bull run. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And a lot of this stuff that's coming out too with the SEC suing Coinbase and Binance and XRP is really only helping the case. The way I see it, they're trying to drive the price down, kind of like what happened with the .com.bomb bubble. There was a little bit of a run up in 96, and then they spread some FUD about it, dropped the price back down, and then it went on a historic run, right? Right around the 2000s. And they're doing the same thing right now to blockchain and crypto. In my opinion, it's the same playbook. They're spreading a whole bunch of FUD around it. There's like they're trying to confuse everyone, right? It's a little bit like the masks, no masks, vaccines, no vaccines, whatever it is. But the more that you look into blockchain, and Jeremy, you mentioned this, that you're pretty well versed on that. The more I look into blockchain, the more I know that it's the technology of the future.
It's the exit strategy from the fiat currency system. And I would take that one step further. And I've made this argument before. I don't believe in any crypto except for Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin being proof of work, I think it's the only crypto that is that is where, and there are some NFTs that are tied to Bitcoin that I think are certainly worth investing in, because I think with the right ones, and the right tokens got the right, kind of backing. And if they're rare enough, you can, if you can get one of 100 or one of a couple hundred or whatever, you could definitely
The
stand
right
to make
yacht
some
club,
money. Yeah.
like the board apes.
Yeah, there's some Trump coins out there. Not the Trump coins that are on Ethereum or whatever else, but I'm talking about some of like those Pepe Trump coins and things like, or Trump tokens that are probably going to be worth some money. But Bitcoin, I think, because of the nature of its, Bitcoin it's immutable. It is virtually impossible to 51% attack it. There's something like 17,000 nodes being run all across the world. There's miners everywhere that are mining it. The SEC has basically come out recently and said that everything but Bitcoin is a security. And so,
Which they're lying. They have no idea.
It's an asset. It's the only true asset, digital asset, in my opinion, that exists, because if it's not proof of work, then it can't be considered an asset, because it can be changed, it can be adjusted, it can be fucked with, and Bitcoin is basically unfuckwithable because of the nature of the code. And so it's virtually impossible to bastardize Bitcoin and change the way that it works. And there will never be more than 21 million of them. And in 2039, I think, was when they'll hit 99.9999% of that 21 million. That's it. It's ultimate scarcity. It's second. Gold is the only thing that comes next, and is the only thing next in line to it. But you can continue to find and mine gold. And we talked about this on a show recently. Like, pretty soon we'll be going to outer space to mine gold, and you'll be able to find more of it, but you're not going to find more Bitcoin in outer space.
Well, the metals company TMC has made a heck of a run, and they are mining nodules off the floor of the ocean full of rare earth minerals.
Yeah. So, you can find more precious metals to mine, and therefore it's not the ultimate in scarcity.
Maybe there's a blockchain out there in space, Maybe.
I'm sure the aliens have something they'll come sell to us, but
yeah, Gentry. So I noticed that I was kind of cyber stalking you.
Oh yeah.
And I was on LinkedIn, and I noticed that you developed a token on the BSC network or something. You were working on a crypto.
Yeah. I was looking to launch a cryptocurrency, just like a meme token to take advantage of the meme run. But then I got involved in this crypto hedge fund, and the guys that were involved were like, "You can't do this," and raise money for us. So I was like, "All right, I'll stop."
Well, what was your meme coin about? What were you selling? Like some
No.
Labrador?
I'll give you the gist of it. I was Binance has I forget what it's called, but they have like a labs program where you can raise money in there to launch products. And I wanted to build out a gambling platform on Binance, so you could bet with NFTs and then cash out with the tokens and then transfer it to a stable coin, right? It was kind of this like half brain idea. Didn't really think about all the implications of it, but that was the idea. So I was like, I had a developer lined up. Like we were going to raise $250,000 to get this thing built out, and it was going to be great. And then I told the guys about it, and they're like, "No, you can't do that."
Did they give you a reason why? Like, I'm not uneducated on that whole topic. So what? I'm deeply educated on Bitcoin itself, right? But is that why? Is it a conflict of interest? Is that the whole reason?
No, the values didn't align. So one of the things that the hedge fund that I'm a part of, it's called DeFi Capital. Their whole idea is to help Christians accumulate wealth so that they can deploy money into the right hands, right? So fund churches, fund political campaigns, get the right people in school boards, all that kind of stuff. So the mission didn't really align because what I was doing was a money grab, and they were actually like there was some like real meaning behind the money that they were doing. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, conscious investing. I've actually dealt with a few of those mutual funds when I was an institutional broker dealer, and I would go around, and all they would invest in was companies that were basically doing the right thing, you know. And there's just not a lot of them left. So yeah, I guess you pretty much got to go DeFi. You know, you got to go DeFi, jump completely off the big board and the small board and the medium sized board, all the boards, and just go straight into small businesses. And that's the heart of the United States anyway. I think 80% of employees work for small businesses, and businesses that have less than like 20 employees or something crazy like that. Is that the 80-20 rule just kind of really shining through? 80% of people work for 20 or less people businesses. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And it's just going to continue with the parallel economy that you're talking about, Gentry. I mean, I see people popping up left and right, and they're really, and by they, I mean Target and Budweiser or InBev, you know.
You don't mean they, them?
They, them, you're right. Thank you, Jeremy. I don't want to piss anybody off. Actually, I do. I love it. But, you know, like, they're all just doing us a favor. You know, they're just kind of like pissing everybody off, and the Hornets are buzzing around trying to find new places to get, you know, pollen and honey.
The Hornets
like
go
that.
get pollen?
I don't know. I mean, they're pollinators. They're definitely pollinators, okay? Yeah. But they don't do the bees.
Yeah.
But I'll throw the bees, and the Hornets are out there, and they're getting the honey, and they're doing the pollinating.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a huge opportunity for that, and it's really astute of Gentry to kind of capitalize on that. DeFi capital plug. But, you know, there's an opportunity there, and you should exploit it and get some money for the good guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're doing. That's what I think a lot of people are working towards. It's really sad too, because I saw George Soros is handing off the reins to his son or grandson, Alex Soros, who apparently is more radical. And those guys, or those types of guys, see generations in the future of what could happen, and I'm just trying to get people to think like that.
I'd like for them to get more radical, to be honest with you. I think that they need to get a lot more radical, because the more radical they get, the more
people they wake up,
shock that's going to go through a lot of people's psyche, and they're just going to be like, hold up, because everybody, there's a tipping point, right? People have a tipping point, and shit just hasn't got bad enough, you know? I mean,
I say this all the time. Like, people got to feel pain before they make change, right? Like, you got to feel the pain. It's like when it's like we were talking about at the top of the show. Like, I was an atheist. I was going down the rabbit hole. I was researching satanic ritual abuse. I was researching human trafficking, sex trafficking, pedophilia. It's rampant in this world.
$150 billion human trafficking, by the way. Both of our numbers.
Oh, man, it's disgusting.
150?
That was painful. Yeah. That was painful for me to go down that path. But I had to understand, like, what is going on? Like, why isn't anybody doing anything about this? Why is this so bad? Why do we keep hearing all these stories about all these people? Why is Hunter Biden's laptop like got all these all this shit all over it? Like, what is going on in this world? And I felt the pain, and that pain, led me to Jesus. You know what I mean? And
amen.
Amen. People do not feel the pain. Like, people don't smarten up with their finances until they feel the financial pain, right? Like they run out of money. And it's like, oh shit, I need to balance my budget. I need to do a better job. I need to stop using my credit cards, like whatever. They don't feel the pain. They don't make the change. And at the same, and this is like what Trump's been saying, for forever. It's like more people need to feel the pain, right? More people need to see the shit that's going on. They need to see him get indicted. They need to see him get arraigned and arrested and all this crazy stuff. And it's like, they need to see it to understand how crazy it is that he's getting like indicted for something that, for documents that he declassified, basically, while Biden hasn't gotten indicted for a damn thing or impeached for anything. And his son is influence peddling for multiples of millions of dollars, and they have proof of it, and is an FBI cover up and all this other stuff. And people like, they have to realize how crazy it is before they wake up. And that's exactly what you're saying. It's like, if George Soros' son is more radical than he is, maybe more of this radical agenda is exposed to the public and people start feeling more pain, and they start to realize like, oh, wait a minute. Like I hope they institute CBDCs. I really do. Because more people will start to feel the pain when the CBDCs come, and they can shut off like, oh, hey, you know what? Like the social credit score. Like, hey, sorry.
It's like
you
when you
didn't say
spank your
anything good
kid.
about our company on Facebook, so we're not going to send you electricity this month.
It's like
Have
when
fun.
you spank your kid. This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't really spank my kid that much, but I will. You got to do it at least once, then you threaten them with it a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, the International Labor Organization in 2020 actually came with that $150 billion number just to kind of like source that stuff. Put that in your bibliographies. All right.
150 billion.
Yeah, that number.
So how bad do you think it has to get for everyone to wake up?
I don't think everyone will ever wake up. I think 20% of the population is so far gone. Anybody who's still wearing a mask they're never going to wake up. These people are going to be brainwashed for the rest of their lives. They are full on nuts. And they just are never going to wake up. They're going to continue. They're the lemmings that will literally walk off the edge of a cliff and following whoever it is that they follow, because they believe in the science. They believe government's got their best interest in mind and all that crap. Like they're the Fauci, fan club.
You just have to quantify it correctly. And once you quantify it correctly, then you can put it on a linear regression analysis, and you can figure out how many standard deviations away we are. And
You
then
lost me, man.
just need a black swan event, one of these big, huge crashes, essentially.
Yeah.
It's what a crash is, right? That's all I'm saying. Is you have to have a crash. And that crash is when people, wake up.
Yeah, I think it's got to be some sort of, I think it's going to be either a massive exposure event of the corruption, like some massive widespread like exposure of corruption.
Panic?
Right? No, like a there's got to be some sort of like, hey, the military has all this information and they just release it to the public, and they're like, hey, we've had this operation that we've been running and all of these politicians are corrupt. Like here's a handful of good guys, but everybody else is like on the tape. We have proof. So it's got to be something of that scale, right? Or it's got to be a massive economic collapse that shows the world that it was just one big house of cards and it was bound to crash eventually. And then we're all basically picking up the pieces, and the people who aren't prepared for something like that mentally, spiritually, or physically, as it pertains to finances,
And weapons and bullets.
Yeah. Guns and ammo, right? All of those things, right? Because societal collapse will do that. It's got to be that kind of event. Otherwise, you're going to have a major percentage of the population that will continue to go on thinking that everything's okay, because people just aren't feeling the pain enough. Like they don't. they complain like, oh, my bread costs more and I got to buy a dozen eggs and it's like $3 more than it has been. But like, I got to buy my eggs, like I still need to eat and I still need my, whatever, my case of Bud Light. But
I saw this on sale for $1.78 a case. Was that real?
That wasn't real.
I was like, man, I might start drinking
Walmart
Bud Light
meme
again.
You talking about the Walmart meme?
Yeah. $1.78.
Yeah.
There's a price for everybody.
Yeah,
Make fun of me. Don't care. These beers cost 7 cents a piece.
It's just so gross.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, I had to quit after I stopped using smokeless tobacco.
Yeah.
So whatever.
It's I think it's got to be a massive event. It's got to be a massive event. And even then, not everybody will wake up. Like, because some people will just be like, all is well. Nothing to see here.
Oh,
it's okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's got to be something big, like massive level of exposure, massive economic collapse, or some sort of, not an extinction level event. I'm not talking like a nuke or an EMP or something like that. I'm just talking.
Oh God, I hope not.
There's got me too. There's got to be something that has to affect everyone. Like the housing market collapse of 2008 woke a ton of people up. It woke up enough people where they produced Bitcoin, number one, like developer, a couple developers, whoever Satoshi Nakamoto is. Like, it could be one person, it could be 10 people, it could be the freaking NSA for all we know, right? And they could be in on it, and they could be like, the system's corrupt, we need to come up with a sound version of money. And so we're going to create this digital currency that is, hard money. But
yeah, so you were talking about
a lot of
nuclear event. You were talking about a nuclear event.
Well,
did you hear?
I said I don't think it would be a nuclear event.
Well, you're talking about that, and did you see that the United States has approved sending depleted uranium to Ukraine?
Oh, was Hillary Clinton involved in that?
No, this is like the depleted kind. She was doing the yellow cake kind,
yeah,
right?
I know.
Like, but I guess you use the depleted uranium. It's it's the heaviest substance on Earth, and you can use it to strengthen your tank's armor, and you can use it in your bullets in order to pierce through other tanks, essentially. And
really,
yeah, Putin's like, oh, you crossed the red line here, and that was I don't know, that's just the hottest, latest thing that's going on in Ukraine. And I bring that up because that could be the start of, that really bad thing. Who knows?
You're right. Could be. That could be what brings us to World War III. And that could be an event where it really wakes a lot of people up, like a true kinetic World War III, not like a cyberspace World War III, which has been going on for decades. I'm talking like a kinetic war, like boots on the ground, bullets flying, missile systems, drones, robot dogs, all that crap. That could be what puts people over the edge and gets them to realize, like, man, like, we're funding these, like, we're constantly funding these wars. You know what I mean? Like, our taxes go to, like, right now, like, we every week we send like $100 billion to Ukraine for whatever. Like, who knows? Like Zelensky, like, blowing lines with our tax, money. Like, it's
seriously,
it's awful. And people still haven't woken up to that. And it's like,
yeah,
well, at what point, the debt ceiling, like, we came really close to, like, they were always going to raise the debt ceiling because they always do, but they brought it right down to the wire, and then they raised the debt ceiling and they sold out the American public again. And it's like, people still aren't awake to that. You know what I mean? I just think it's a slow drip. It's a trickle. And like, over time, more and more people wake up, and more people like us will continue to talk freedom, and will continue to spread truth. And, you keep doing what you're doing on your social media handles, and with your media company, and helping patriotic organizations do more marketing out there, and kind of getting the word out about their businesses. And we'll keep talking freedom to the masses.
Yeah, we'll never
hopefully
stop
more
doing
people
that.
will wake up. You know what I mean? But I think that's all people like us can do. Like, we can just keep spreading truth.
Yeah, so Gentry, family was one of your things, and and you're not married, but we got any candidates? to put a ring on or anything? What's going on there?
No,
What's going
no,
on
not right
from a
now.
couple of married guys? What's going on out there, man? Just tell us.
What's
Just
going
give
on
us
out
a
there?
taste of that the single life.
Like,
What's going on? Yeah, you got
li-
any prospects?
like in the dating scene?
Yeah, you get some prospects. How's the dating life out there in Seattle?
Well, I mean, you're either vaccinated or you're a man. That's what I'm finding out on the dating
Is that
apps.
right?
No, there's some really good girls out there. I went through a bad breakup about 6 months ago, so I took myself off the market. But I feel like I'm ready to get back out there, and um, I really want to be married and have a family. Like I want to settle down. I don't want to go through the whole dating a bunch of people just to see what like I know what I want.
Yeah.
So I'll probably find her at church. But I don't think she's up in Seattle,
No.
to be
Well,
honest.
you know what I would suggest is that you move to a new place. You got to move to a new place. I mean, you gotta
You gotta
you
move
gotta
south.
find a new church. If you think that your mate is at church, I implore you to get to a new church until you find a suitable mate that you can produce some children with. Because man, I have so much fun. I have a 9-month-old, a 3-year-old. I have 11 and a 9-year-old. So it's like there's so much fun, man. And if you want to do it, you should do it sooner rather than later. Because I mean, you don't want to. I mean, I had my first kid when I was 42, right? I didn't have a kid. Obviously, I'm a man, but I helped produce my first kid when I was 42. And I regret waiting so long. I waited to get married until I was 40, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be a grandpa. I definitely won't be a great grandpa. I mean, maybe
You'll be a grandpa. What do you expect? You'll live past.
I don't know. If my
You'll live long
daughter
enough.
decides to wait till she's 40, or my son, if all my kids wait till they're 40, then like
You're
that
in your
puts me
80s. Yeah.
at 80. And I don't know. I mean, the average lifespan for a man is actually 68.9. I looked this up.
You looked it up.
And the average lifespan for a woman is 73.9, because men's life are so much harder than women's. They have no idea. They complain about childbirthing, but it's ridiculous. Just kidding. Sorry, women. Sorry, dudettes. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That was a good one.
But it's clear. The numbers are there. 68.9, 73.9. That is irrefutable. You can't even argue with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Stats don't lie.
No.
You can't fake stats.
No. Don't do it. Don't hate me.
Well, man, listen, what's next for you with the media group? What's your focus going to be over the next couple of months with the media company?
I'm gonna be going through Public Square and calling up all those companies. So I got a big job ahead of me.
Yeah.
So just
do.
prospecting.
Yeah, so how many
what?
How many companies are you going to call on each day, Gentry?
How many companies I'm going to call on each day? Well, I'm going to do a mix of outreach, right? So email, Instagram DMs, because I've got a fairly large following, so they'll see it, and then text messages. So I'll probably try to hit like 400 to 500 a day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And how many total companies are in Public Square?
I think they're getting up to 60,000. So it'll take me a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, 500 a day.
That's
60,000.
awesome.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you jumping on. Do me a favor, hang on the line while we end the recording, just to make sure that the video uploads to the system, so that we can make sure that the whole video uploads. But
Right.
we're gonna hit the outro music, and we're gonna wrap it up.
He'll probably want to listen to the outro music.
Yeah, of course, he's gonna want to listen to the outro
good.
music.
So
Is it so sick?
So good.
Are you listening? Damn.
All right, dudes and dudettes, that's a wrap for this episode of Dudes Talking Freedom. Another special shout out to Gentry Gevers for joining us on today's recording. Thanks, brother. For DTF, this is Jeremy.
this is Luke.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.